Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to Mr. Expert on the issue of the audit report you have given out. It is very narrow. It is not detailed as such. But my question is, and we have heard from MCS, so many MCS that they are undermining the systems. As an expert, and you did an audit of the system, do you recommend that system to be used in anywhere or in even the county executives and county assembly? Thank you.
Senator Christo Asige, I will let you ask the question as the final senator who is asking this witness.
Thank you very much, Speaker. You know, Speaker, we've spent over an hour listening to a painfully long examiner-in-chief, Cross and Aree, only to find out at the end by the witness that really he cannot prove nor disprove the question that is being put to this House. And so it feels like we shouldn't really lay our frustrations onto the witness, but perhaps we should ask the counsel and his team, why did you then bring this witness? Why did you put him through all that work if you cannot prove nor disprove your case? In any case, my question is to the witness, can you at least, if you can do nothing else to help us, can you at least tell us the IP addresses, where are the locations of these IP addresses? You've told us who it belongs to, Safaricom, which belong to 9 of those in your report, but where exactly, what is the location in the country which they are attached to, along with all the rest which are not the Safaricom one? Locations. Thank you.
So witness, you'll answer that, and then counsel who procured you will answer the final question from Senator Christo. And then we'll call it a day on this witness.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, let me deal with the frustration first in terms of the IP addresses, if we can locate them. As I've said, we are able to locate these IP addresses, and I've mentioned the IP address and know who was given this IP address by Safaricom. That can be done. For some of the IP addresses on this list, maybe for the IT experts or the people with IT experience, there's something called the IP version 4 addresses. And the IP version 4 addresses they have been used, they have been overused, and they are no longer available. So there's something that ISP providers use, which is called a shared IP space. Because we have exhausted all IP version 4 addresses up to now. That's why you can see on page 30, there's an IP address starting with 105.161. That 105.161 can be used by multiple ISPs in terms of Safaricom, in terms of Liquid Telecom, in terms of 190, because we have exhausted all these IP4 addresses. So traceability also of these addresses is not as simple for these ones which are starting with 105, because they are in a shared IP address range. But the ones which are starting with 41, those ones we know, as we have checked, they are in Kericho County from the ping which I've just done now. Yes.
Let him finish his responses.
Then about the recommendation of the system, at the current, the way it is built currently, and the mechanisms or the protocols or the framework it has, I wouldn't recommend the system to be used by anyone until the upgrades or updates are aligned to best security practices. I wouldn't recommend at the moment to be used, because if the system, I wouldn't be here. If it was good, I wouldn't be here. Then unauthorized person accessing the system, That is true. We can't, to be frank, the system doesn't allow you to know if it's an unauthorized person because, as I said, the credentials were already shared and everyone knew the credentials. So me, I can access that system wherever, even I can be in Kericho and access, but we wouldn't know if somebody used my credentials to access my portal because there's no security protocols in terms of to MFA, which would send a notification to your message so that you approve the access. Then also, the unauthorized personnel to access the system is very, 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 very key because I believe from the report which was printed, it's in black and white. There is on page, maybe I can just take you on page, just 1 minute. On page 34. On page 34, there is figure 1.2, written or exposed password. This is more of the technical requirement which we did on security, apart from the basic recommendations. This one, if maybe it was printed in colored, you would have seen that the passwords are exposed. Once somebody logs in, somebody who's using your computer can come back and see your passwords. So that is also a technical and cybersecurity risk for that. For the drafted, and I'm just trying to answer the question if the system was secure. I don't believe the system was secure, even from this expose on figure 1.2, which mentions the exposed passwords. And that is already a very major flaw on that system.
Thank you. Yes. Senator Sotsi, you have an issue of intervention. What is that?
Madam Speaker, I said earlier on that the benefit that we have in this house is that we have diverse profession in this house. I happen to be one of those profession in the ICT industry, and I cannot sit here listening to information that is misleading. I do not want to contradict him any further, but I would request this house take 1 or 2 minutes to do a simple task that is called an IP lookup, just to determine what is the physical location of this IP address 41 dot something that was used 9 times.
Let me guide
Madam
you.
Speaker, that will really help this
Can
house.
I guide you, Senator Osotsi? Ask the witness to do that because he's the only one who can respond to that question. Give a specific IP address. Let him look up and give you an answer himself. Because the House is not giving evidence, it's the witness.
Speaker, I had asked this question.
Give him a specific one.
I had asked this question earlier, that IP address.
I'm guiding you so that you get what you are looking for, because you cannot give evidence from the Senate.
Yes.
You have an intervention. Let's finish with Senator Sotsi.
Madam Speaker.
Let's finish with Senator
The IP address 41.139.2.
Can you take it up and look it up and give an answer right away to the House on where that IP address leads you?
41.139.237.129. We can do a 1 minute lookup, and I can guide this House further on that, how that can be done. So, I'm already on intervention.
Allow Senator Osotsi to finalize with his intervention.
So I would
Let's
like
have
the
some
IT.
order.
I like the
Senator
IT.
Eddie, wait.
I like the IT people to.
He's on a point of intervention. Senator Joyce, you wait. Just
I would like the
wait
IT
until he
people,
finalizes that exercise.
I would like the IT people to give us a screen, maybe to go to the internet, and then I will demonstrate that.
You can, the
I'm
witness.
on a point of order.
Senator Osotsi, can you follow the guidance of the chair? I have guided you correctly. Give that IP address to the witness who can give evidence before this House. You cannot give the evidence yourself. We want to hear what his response is. You can always cross-check before you vote so that it guides your vote.
Very well, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was saying that because the expert will need the assistance of the IT room. They have to display that on the screen.
No, we are able to counter-check when we recess to before the vote. Witness, can you respond to where that IP address takes you?
The IP address in question is the 41.139.237. This one is registered under Safaricom Limited, and its description is for convergence services, cost limited. And but the person, the owner is Safaricom Limited and Safaricom House. The person in question is John Muita.
The location? That's what he asked you.
From the public available information, from the public available information, there is no location for that. It mentions Kenya, Nairobi as the domain admin.
Eddie?
Madam Speaker, with a lot of respect, Madam Speaker, I think we are sitting here as a quasi-jury. We cannot now take even though we have many ICT experts here. Even some of us know ICT. But I think that what we are attempting to do, I wanted to urge you, Madam Speaker, perhaps you can guide that a senator can do that in their submission. Because they will have a submission time when they'll be making sense of this here. But as a matter of procedure, you ruled yesterday on that chair that we are going to have an ICT expert who would then give us another report. So even if the ICT expert who is here cannot give us enough report, that's fine. Let's wait for the other ICT expert to give us. But if a jury wants to give us a direction of ICT, let them do that during the submission. Because we are going to rule on this and rule on substantive issues.
Senator Eddy, that is why I guided Senator Osotsi that evidence could not be adduced from the chamber, can only be adduced by the witness, and beyond that, maybe the experts. Senator Ledama.
Madam Speaker, we've been sitting here for quite a number of hours. I'm not sure whether the defense or the county assembly understand what the amount of time they have. Could you kindly stop all this intervention, allow the county assembly and the county government or the governor to finish their case? And then when the time comes for us to submit, either to support or not, or to oppose, we can then be able to try to argue our matter. I really
let me guide you, Senator Ledama. The chair is in charge. Right now, the time that is being used, it is the senators who are using their time. It is not the time for either the county assembly or the governor's time. So it's the senators who have raised the issues, and the requests are coming from your end, not from their end. Now, witness, you are stood down. We are done with the question time. So you may resume your seat, or you could exit, but you are discharged from the stand.
Thank you.
Moving on to the ICT expert who was requested by Senate to bring a report. So, clerk, you can make sure the expert is called in. Sergeant at Arms, can you get the ICT? Or the question directed to Council Katwa Kigen.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, maybe I would address the issue of the next witness, because I don't know whether the county governor has then closed his case before we go to the independent expert of the Senate.
I believe they said that was their last witness, or have you changed that, Councillor?
May I confirm, Madam Speaker, that is the close of our case, the governor's case. Thank you.
So, and honorable senators, just to let you know, some of the issues you are raising, yourselves are raising those issues. So the time that is being spent is based on your requests.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, may I just
proceed.
take one last concern through you?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, the person who has been brought here to answer these charges is the governor. Do I understand that we are not going to hear the governor's evidence and to test it?
Senator, Councillor Ongoye, I would hope you concentrate on how you manage your case, because the Council for Governor has said that is the close of their case. Once they declare that, I believe they are competent in their submission to that respect.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. So we can proceed on to the ICT expert. And honorable senators, is the question time. We should avoid repetitive questions, because if you repeat the questions, you'll get repeated answers. Repetitive questions, repetitive answers. Exactly. Is the witness within the precincts of Parliament? Or have they, where is he or she? Okay. Clerk, can you please administer the oath to the ICT authority experts?
English.
Are both the experts going to take to the stand?
Sorry? I'm Christian.
Clerk assistant? Clerk assistant, are both experts going to take to the... They take into the floor to give evidence? Or one?
Yes.
One?
Yes.
Okay. Proceed and administer the oath.
Right hand.
Yeah, right hand. Place it. The left hand of the Constitution.
Okay. I, Philip Irode, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before the Senate in respect of the matters before the Senate shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
The Senate had directed the ICT authority experts to present a report to the Senate on the matters that are before the House, especially the question of the use of technology in the voting system in Kericho County. You are conversant with that request?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to proceed and present that report, but first of all, give your full name and the position you hold at the ICT authority and present the contents of the report. You have 10 minutes to do that.
Thank you. My name is Philip Irode. I'm a Deputy Director in charge of Information Systems Security at the ICT Authority. We received a request from the Senate through our PS, Ministry of State Department of ICT and Digital Economy, that they require the assistance of the ICT Authority to look into issues of the Kericho County, to look into the issue of the Kericho County Assembly voter system. Our CEO sent a response to the clerk, that was yesterday, appointing myself, Philip Irode, and my colleague, Joan Mukera, to come and address this particular request. We came in, had a brief, and given that we had not initially received a formal letter, we had to sort a letter to take it back to the office for purposes of the normal guidance as per government protocol through the accounting officer. We later came with the nominations of our two names and looked at the system. This was in the presence of both parties from the County Assembly, the Senate, and of course the Governor's Office. The system that we were looking at is a voting system, which is a web-based voting system. The system is hosted off-premise and out of country. And our initial URL search indicates that the system is published at IP address 178.162.234.23. And from the interactions, which is basically the initial assessment that you do from the interaction with the system owners, it's an in-house developed system where the local staff have developed the system. It is managed and administered by the head of ICT, who is the super administrator. We looked at the system based on the scope of the request that was articulated in the letter. And of course, being professionals within the industry, we were guided by processes which are basically information security frameworks that guide our work. This includes information
ICT Authority's Information Security Standard, as well as other global information security practice standards. We looked at it, and of course, we had 5 specific questions that we were meant to answer, which we have answered, and the details which are basically as articulated in the report that we have provided before this House. Question 1 was, did an electronic voting process take place using the system? And of course, we have looked at the system based on the logs which you were able to access in the presence of both parties, and we found out, yes, an electronic voting took place using the referenced URL as presented in the report and with the logs that were provided. The second question, Madam Speaker, was, is the number of MCAs who voted on the impeachment of the governor verifiable? This was also based on the logs extracted from the voting module as well as the system events module. And the answer is yes. The number of MCAs who voted to the impeachment of the governor is verifiable. The third question was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or another MCA? The answer that we provided is no. You cannot vote for any other person or an MCA with the link provided alone. You need to have both the username, which in this case was the IPPD, and the password, which was the ID number. Question number 4 was, how many MCAs voted in the affirmative on the motion to impeach the governor? The number of MCAs who voted on the motion was 33, as was extracted from the voting module logs. Question number 5, which is the last question under our scope of review, was, is there any evidence of multiple voting or other compromise of the voting system or any impropriety in the voting system or process? Our response to this question was, from the evidence provided and the access logs collected from the voting system logs and the admin and system events log module, there is no evidence of multiple voting. Neither is there evidence of other compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system and the process. Madam Speaker, that were our findings. Thank you.
As an expert witness, you have been oathed to give evidence and present that report. So you will be subjected to some cross-examination on the report, both by the county assembly and by the governor's team. And then we'll proceed on to have questions and clarifications from the senators. So I will now allow the county assembly team and then the governor's team. Each will have 10 minutes maximum.
Thank you. Sir, I have very few questions for you. This exercise was conducted within the precincts of this parliament. True or not true?
It's true.
Were you notified of the people who were present at the time of undertaking this exercise?
Yes, we were.
You did this exercise in the presence of the people representing the governor's team, the people representing the county assembly, and the administrative staff of the Senate. Is that the correct representation?
Yes, it is.
I have 3 substantive concerns regarding the report, then I sit down. Is there any single log that you came across, any log-in credential that you encountered from the logs that voted more than once?
Your question, the answer to the question is no.
Is there any credential that logged in and voted after the 15th of August, 2025?
No.
Let me confirm that. No, there's an officer of court, an advocate, who told this Senate that he actually logged into this system and managed to vote after the 21st. Did you come across that log in the system?
No, we didn't come across such a log in the system because the voting had already been closed.
Did you see the logs used by the admin of the system to log and undertake any activities in the system?
Yes, the logs are clearly marked when an admin logs in and when a specific user created into the system logs in.
Did the admin logs themselves cast any vote?
No.
That is all for this witness.
Proceed.
Madam Speaker and the Honorable Senators, I'll share the 10 minutes with the Senior Counsel Katwa and Wanyama. I'll only ask 2 questions. Mr. Philip, from the logs that you extracted, did you extract any source IP addresses?
Yeah, we have IP addresses within our logs.
Source IP addresses, the MAC addresses. Did you get any MAC addresses from the system?
Which one are you referring to? You've mentioned MAC address and IP address. Which
source one? IP addresses, which is the same as MAC addresses.
Your Honor, those are 2 different addresses.
So you can differentiate the 2, kindly?
Yes. So MAC address is ideally, in a layman's language, like your fingerprint. It is absolutely unique.
Unique. Did you get those unique identifiers from the system?
Allow me to answer the question.
No, I'm asking you a question. Did you get those unique identifiers from the system?
The IP addresses,
Counsel,
yes.
Allow him to answer.
Okay. I need specific answer, yes or no, on the issue of source IP address. Did you
Counsel, let him answer so
okay.
that you can benefit from that answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have IP addresses within our log systems.
The source IP address, did you get them?
Yes.
Did you identify the IP addresses to a certain gadget?
Your Honor, based on system configuration, logs are part of system development, and ideally, most system development prescribe the IP addresses, because ideally with an IP addresses, you have the ability to geolocate where that particular device is.
Now,
a MAC address will not give you a geolocation.
Thank you for your answer. So, from your answer, it indicates that you could not tell which location this IP address was from.
It's the opposite. From our answer, we could be able to say where the IP address is from because...
Have you indicated that in your report?
Yes.
That it came from where?
We have indicated the IP addresses of the various voters who logged into the system.
Can you identify those IP addresses to a certain gadget, say that this IP address, 41 something, was for Honorable, let's say, Anita? Can you say that?
Your Honor, that is not possible with the system configuration as it is.
So, from the system that you are working on, you cannot tell who voted for who?
You can tell based on the user ID, which is a unique user ID, and the IP address of the user.
This is not a personal question. You'll remember that we worked together yesterday as you worked on this report, and this is not personal. You became my friend yesterday, and you will confirm to this Senate that We began working on this report at 4:30. You disappeared until 4:30. Is that true? So from the committee, you will confirm that you left the committee room at 2:30 and came back at 4:30. Is that true?
Your Honor, that could not be true. And as I have indicated, we were called here urgently. We came without formal release letters. When we came, we were, invited into the chamber. We were briefed on what the assignment entailed.
No, I'm talking about when we start. We sat.
Counsel, allow the witness to answer, please. You asked a question, he's responding to that question. Proceed, witness.
Thank you. Yeah, so after we were briefed by the clerk's office, as protocol dictates, we have to seek concurrence from our counting officer. I explained to the clerk's office that we need to get an authority to embark on an exercise. This is when I was ushered into the clerk's office. A letter was done while I waited, and I walked with that letter to our CEO's office, advising him that this is the sort of engagement that we have been called to conduct, and I therefore need to be officially released.
Did you require 2 hours?
Well, it wasn't 2 hours, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Witness, expert witness, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in a few minutes. Just to follow up on a question which my colleague asked you. Who called you yesterday and you left the Senate-sanctioned audit for more than 2 hours? An activity that was time-bound. Who called you to go to that event?
My CEO, Your Honor.
Your CEO?
Yes.
Thank you. What did the CEO tell you when he called you to leave a Senate-sanctioned event?
Well, as I have explained, it is a practice that as a public officer who you have to get approval or express permission.
Did you require approval when the Speaker has already issued a directive and you are in the presence of the House? The House of Senate? You leave the Senate to go. Did you require approval to leave the Senate to go back to your CEO?
I think I was given a letter requesting us for the services which I had to deliver to our office for approval and clearance.
Did you become hostile to the team by the governor, the governor's team, when you came back? Did you become hostile to the team by the governor when you came back?
I'm not a hostile person.
You are not a hostile person?
No.
You asked a specific question yesterday, which he has asked you, and you need to tell this Senate. This question is in the mouth and minds of all senators today. MCS accessed this system using a gadget. Is that correct?
I wouldn't know how.
From your observation, MCS accessed this system using a gadget, whether it's a phone or a laptop or a computer. Is that correct?
Ideally, based on the nature of the system, yes, it's a web-based system. Yes.
And when you access the system, then you need to leave a fingerprint in that system so that anyone else can tell that indeed you left, you are the one who voted. And that is the primary question before this Senate. So the question is, did you find in the system what is known as the MAC addresses for the computers, mobile phones, laptops, etc., which were used to access this system? Did you find?
So allow me to answer that question in a more layman's language for the benefit of the Senate. What happens when you are accessing a system? There is the public-facing IP, and there's the internal IP. I'll give you an example. If we have all access to our Wi-Fi in this building, that Wi-Fi will have one external-facing IP.
Yes.
That IP is the one that channels our traffic to the specific requests that we make onto the internet. By the nature of this system, it has been set up such that it can be able to pick the IP as the unique resource locator for the service. And that is part of the logs that we've been able to collect.
Because of my time, and I appreciate, the IP addresses that you have given to this house are already in the house. The senators have looked at these IP addresses, and some are they have been recorded 9 times. They have interrogated that issue. What they are asking now, at this level, is that MAC address. They want to know, did this MCA vote? Did this MCA A, B, C, D vote? And which gadget did he use? That is the primary question. So does your report contain MAC address, the logs for the MAC addresses? That is the question before the House.
It's a right question.
It is a yes or no answer. Is it there so that I can show the senators that our case has collapsed because the MAC addresses are now in your report, the unique identifiers for the telephone numbers of these MCS. It's now available, produced by the expert, and our case has collapsed. Show me in your report where these MAC addresses are.
I have clearly responded to that question, and the answer is
the answer is show me in your report. It's a yes or no answer.
Counsel, let him answer. Counsel, allow the witness to answer. Witness, do you have the IP addresses in your report?
I have IP addresses in my report, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the question is the MAC addresses. The IP address, we have, Madam Speaker, I request for 2 more minutes. I'm now on a delicate issue. The MAC addresses.
Granted the 2 minutes. Respond to the question of the MAC addresses.
MAC addresses are not part of external facing details that are captured within this particular system. The system captures IP addresses. IP addresses can still be linked to a MAC address.
Okay.
Allow me to finish,
okay,
kindly.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. You have your own safe in your house, which is located in a certain location. We cannot expose your safe to the outside world, but we will expose your gate number to the world. Ideally, a MAC address is unique to that house, and the house number is public information.
That begs 2 questions, Mr. Expert Witness, Madam Speaker, I wind up. Two important questions. These MAC addresses, what kind of audit did you do? Did you do a basic compliance audit? Did you do a network security audit? Or did you do a device compliance audit? Because each one has different levels. And maybe as you answer that question, there's a senator who asked here, did you penetrate this system into the NIT so that you extract the required information to complete this report?
So, Your Honor, you cannot be able to do an entire audit within a day. Our letter was very clear. We target our exercise in answering the 5 questions, and we targeted our efforts towards what activities will give us the response or the answers to the clerk's questions as directed to our CEO.
Did you do a search on all these IP addresses to tell the senators that these IP addresses are not located in Nyahururu, Bomet, Nairobi, or Embu? Did you do a search address in your audit?
Your Honor, we did what the letter requested us to do, which was to conduct an assessment that will respond to the questions that had been answered.
Last question, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last question. The senators in this House, there's a live question which they want an answer from you. The evidence was given that a computer was used at the county assembly to vote for 3 MCS. 3 MCS, a computer was used. The simple question is, did you go to Kericho County, or was this computer given to you for you to ascertain the IP address or MAC address in that computer to give to these honorable senators to clear any doubt in their mind on the verifiability, authenticity, and security of this system? That is my last question.
Yeah, so based on the audit logs that we collected, as we have responded, the system has adequate logs providing verifiability, which is ideally the number of...
The question, did you visit Kericho? Were you given the computer? It's a simple issue.
So the system is a web-based system.
Yes.
For a web-based system, you do not need to physically visit a location. It's available on the URL, unique resource locator, as we have provided.
So what is the
report.
IP address for this laptop which was given in, which the MCS said they used? Can you tell the senators with a substantial measure of assurance, no doubt at all, that I, as the expert, this is the IP address of this computer, this is the MAC address of this computer, so that we clear doubt? Thank you.
I don't think that was part of my request for this
Thank you,
letter.
Madam Speaker. I'm sorry, my time is up.
The question is now actually answered. It's told you. Senator Sifuna.
You know, Speaker, I'm a bit confused by the line of questioning that has been taken by counsel for the governor, because your directive was that all these parties be present during that exercise. Now, when I look at the report, there's a part for people who were present to indicate they were present. Mr. Evanson Kirui, counsel for governor, did not sign. The question to you, witness, was he there? This gentleman called Weldon Kipiegon Lagat, was he there? And then, to the counsel for the governor, these things you are asking, did you ask him to do it there, when you are there? And what did he do? And then why would you refuse to sign that you are present? Those are the questions I want to address.
Senator Sifuna, before those questions are tackled, you could resume your seat. Let's take a direction on how the senators will now engage with that report and that witness. Then those questions will be tackled in that session, because that's not an intervention on procedure. It's actual contents and questions to the witness. So, honorable senators, we have about 15 senators who would like to ask questions, and we must limit the time within which this gets done. So we'll have to agree that every senator should either ask just one question, if we have to cover all, and if we ask 2 questions, then we'll have less of senators requesting for that intervention. So we do 1 question per senator. Is that agreeable? We need a consensus. Okay. So 1 question. So you have asked yours already, so I'm not giving you another chance. He will respond. I'm sure he's already gotten the gist of the questions. Senator Chute Mohammed. You take about 5 questions, and then you respond, and we go to the next segment of questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. A witness from the MCA.
Your time is 1 minute, and the clerk, you'll be strict with your time.
10 seconds is gone. Sorry? My question goes to the expert. There was an MCA who gave an evidence that 9 persons, or MCAs, voted from a particular station. That station the number is 41-139-237-129. Did you, in your report, do we have that report that shows that 9 MCAs voted from 1 logging station? Thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have to declare that the witness is my student in my other life, and he's competent enough. But I just want to ask 1 question. Philip, you look at me in the eye. Are you the one who did this report? I just want that answer, yes or no.
He will
Because
respond.
from my teaching, this report would be done, have been done better than this, Madam Speaker.
Senator Danson Munkatana, is he there? No. Senator Eddie Okech.
I know this question might have come from the council side, but I'm going to ask it for my own consumption. Did everybody vote on the day of the voting or otherwise, in your best knowledge? And if that happened, then was there people who abstained in the system or people who voted otherwise no? Or everybody who voted yes in the system that you audited?
Senator John Nyoto, that's the last one, then we have answers.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter before us and why the ICT expert had to come is because the governor's side has argued that there are some MCAs who voted for others. And so it's very important, Madam Speaker, for the ICT expert to tell us this MAC address is very important because IP address, as he has explained to us, was the ID number. And if somebody wants, for example, to know my ID number here, they will know it, so they can vote for me. If the only leeway to get into the system is my ID number, it is known, it's in the office. So this MAC address was going to be very important. And Madam Speaker, the ICT expert should tell us about the address where the gadgets that voted were.
Time up. Witness, please respond to those questions first before we take the next segment of questions.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll go by the order in which they were presented. The first question was if the opposing side had their team members present. That is in affirmative. Yes, they were present. The second question was, there's an MCA who alleges that 9 persons voted for a particular, 9 persons voted, repetitively using IP 41 something.
You had more questions from Senator Sifuna. There were about 3.
Well, I captured the aspect of the team's availability. Yes, they were available, and they opted not to sign the report. And when we were extracting the logs, we even had concurrence on this report at some point until they decided not to sign it. I hope that answers your question, Mheshimiwa. Number 2 was if the specific IP that appears 9 times indicates that one person voted 9 times. Ideally, as I've indicated, Madam Speaker, this is a gateway, and I think from my basic understanding, most of these county governments have Wi-Fi, and this could be the IP address that have been assigned to the Wi-Fi gateway, and therefore, if at all you are connected to the Wi-Fi, your device is actually assigned that specific IP as a public-facing IP, and therefore, the system logs pick that specific IP as part of the logs. To respond to my senior Senator Osotsi, yes, I'm the one who authored the report based on the timeline constraints that we were given. This is the best we could do in responding to the specific questions that we had. The other question is, did everybody vote on the day or otherwise? The response to that is yes. We have the specific user IDs. We have the specific timestamps, which are within the specific date that the voting was being done. And we have logs of votes done and of course the other people who did not vote as part of the logs that we presented. The other question is, were other persons voting for any other person? That question has been answered in our report as question number 3, whereby it was being asked, was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or another person? Ideally, if you have the link alone, you cannot vote, but you need to have the username, which is the IPPD, and of course, a password which is unique to an individual. Thank you.
Senator Wambua Enoch.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to ask a question where the expert has ended. When you asked by the lawyer whether any system admin would have voted in this system, you said a clear no. But you're saying that if you have the username and the password, you could vote for anyone from any location. So how would you have known that the admins did not vote? Because this username and the password are not computer generated. They have been assigned physically by the admin to the MCS. How would you know that they have not voted?
Senator Seki.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think that is the question I had because I wanted to know if somebody has the username and the password, and now we have heard from one of the MCAs by the name Berir that was unable to, doesn't have any internet in his phone, and someone else is working on another phone, possibly you will have forwarded the password and the username. So could someone else be able to log in or even vote using another phone? And that is the question I really wanted to know.
Senator Aaron Cheriot, Majority Leader, did you request?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I beg your indulgence that you allow me maybe slightly more than a minute. This is the only chance that the people whose county is contesting this matter have the chance to speak in this House. Madam Speaker, I have a question to this expert. My first question is, did the expert really appreciate the assignment that is before them? If they did, I want them, because this is in the interest of establishing the truth, Mr. Speaker, to account for the report that he has brought to this House, particularly Annex 3, page 17 of your report. This case, by the way, boils down to 3 votes when all is said and done. Forget about all these issues about 9 and whatever. Because
Majority Leader, you know our standing orders are very clear. Okay, 2 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I was explaining, and this is for even to assist the House, that eventually this case boils down to 3 votes and how they can be accounted for. Because if you read the affidavits of the County Assembly and those of the governor's team, there is a contestation only on 4 votes. The rest are already accounted for. It is only that in one of the votes, Mr. Speaker, that witness has sworn an affidavit for both camps. Therefore, we can choose to disregard. But I was pointing the expert to his report on page 17, Annex 3, to explain to this House whether he is certain and absolutely certain that the member written there as for Cheplanget Ward, for Kapkatet, and Kapkugerwet ward, they are the 5th from bottom, 3rd, and 2nd last votes that came in. Whether he can give with certainty that from what he saw out of his audit, that indeed these messages emanated from the registered phones of these members. If that is ascertained, Mr. Speaker, I know how to do the rest of my work.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. I wanted to take you back to the question that Wambua had asked. And we go back to page 5, and that is question number 3. You say, the question you were asked, was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or any other MCA? Then you say no, and then you qualify it by saying you need to have both the username, that is the IPPD, and the password ID number. What you may not know is that when presentations were being done yesterday, we were informed that these names and numbers were freely given to everybody in the assembly. In other words, the private ID numbers and whatever that was being provided for.
Senator Wakoli.
Honorable Speaker, my questions are as follows.
Only one question, Honorable Senator.
Did you ascertain that the link that the MCS received on their phones were the same phones that were used to vote, and you can justify the process? Thank you.
Senator Kavindu.
Chair, Speaker, thank you. My question is, if there was clarity about the MCRs who are claiming that their identity was used for voting and they did not vote. And yesterday I also asked a question. There was a Peter who tried to log several times and it failed. And I asked whether he managed to vote at long last. And this question was not answered. So you, as a specialist of IT, did you manage to trace that Peter if he ever voted? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Thangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is very simple. We were told yesterday, and I tried to ask the same question, that 9 members voted from the same computer. Can you, Mr. Speaker, request that we have the 9 members try to vote as we see? Then we see how long it's going to take. From there, Mr. Speaker, we'll be able to know how much time that 9 members can use one computer with different IDs, different IPPDs, and they are going to vote, Mr. Speaker. So if you can direct that is being, it can be demonstrated to us how 9 members can vote from one computer, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mogeni.
Yes, when a witness, there is a question that is troubling us, and we want to be sure from your evidence this evening, if somebody has a link and he has a user name and a password, can that person vote for another person? You got me? You have got the link, you have the username, and you have the password. Can you vote for another person using any gadget?
Okay, proceed to respond to those, and then I'll have another set for you. Proceed.
Yeah, so the first question was asking whether, as admin, you could vote for an MCA. The answer to that is no. If you have logged in as admin, you need to log into the system as a registered user who needs to cast their vote, because from the logs, each of the MCAs who voted had a unique number that enabled them to cast a vote. The second question is if any other person can vote for the MCA with the username and password. As I have clearly indicated, that is possible only if you have the MCA's IPPD and the password, which is the ID number. And the same answers the last question that has been cast by the senator who just took his seat. There was the issue of certainty based on page 17. And ideally, what we were trying to do here is to provide a correlation. The system has two modules. There is the system events module, the system security events module, and there is the vote activity, the voters module. So to address issues of source IP, as had been earlier questioned by the other council, we managed to actually map each of the vote cast with the IP, because this was an aspect of contestation that the logs that we have do not have IP addresses. But from the annex that we have provided here, from the voting module and the system events, you can be able to correlate this based on the unique user ID and the timestamp under which that particular activity did happen. And this is basically to ascertain that MCA so-and-so cast his vote at this particular IP address and this particular timestamp. The other question was, if I have an ID, and it was actually an issue of clarity where I was being told that it is common knowledge that within the county, ID and passwords are already circulated. My response to that is not within my knowledge, because it's unique to the county, and I wouldn't have really known, because it is a culture issue within the county if that is their practice. I was also asked to ascertain the link and the voting process. As a practitioner within this field, we are guided by principles. And just to make sure that we were doing a good job to this assembly, we made sure that there is a checklist that assists the county to conform to standard global practices and standards, as I had indicated within my opening remarks, which is the information security standard, as well as the ISO standards, and any other data protection, as well as computer misuse and Protection Act. So we are guided, and we provided that checklist to the head of ICT for the county, who responded in affirmative, and we have been able to receive some of those documentations to validate our report. So the process of whether to ascertain that the URL that was provided and the voting process, that is a documentation issue which we have been able to be guided by the documentation that was provided. The other question was, we identify the number of users, the identity of users who are able to vote for each other. As I have said, you can only vote for each other if you have that particular MCA's IPPD number and the password. But with the link alone, you cannot be able to do that. The issue of 9 people voting, I think the senator was asking whether that can be a proof of concept within the House. It is upon the speaker to decide. Then the last question was with the link and password and username, can you vote? Yes, that is the answer. You can vote if you have both three parameters together. Thank you.
The question by Senator Richard Onyonka.
I responded, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I think you understood where I was. You were not aware that we had been informed in the evening, in the morning yesterday, that all the MCAs and the other members were actually given the numbers of their colleagues in terms of their IDs and their IP numbers. So if that is the case, is it true, or do you then think it is possible that somebody could have voted for somebody else?
Mr. Speaker, I think with that information where you have user's ID and user's password, it is possible for you to vote on behalf of another person.
Senator Chiranke.
Mr. Witness, I've looked at Annex number 3, page 17, and of course your response. So in this, you can confirm that the 33 MCAs voted in the affirmative of the motion. Is it true? And was the system compromised as per your understanding in your expertise? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boy. Senator Isa. Yeah, then log out, Honorable Senator, please. Yes, Senator Fak, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. You said that given the fact that the login credentials were shared amongst all the members of the Assembly, and that somebody could have voted, for instance, I could have voted for Mr. Senator Issa Boy, and then was it possible for me to vote for Senator Boy, for instance, and also vote for myself, given that I have the credentials of both senators? Thank you.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer the expert to page 5, Roman 5. There's a statement there where he says, towards the end of Roman 5, that there is no evidence of multiple voting, neither is there evidence of other compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system and process. That statement, in view of even the questions you've had now, that and then the information we now got that there was static IP address inside the chamber, there was evidence of somebody saying that he was going to vote for somebody else. Don't you think this statement was a bit too much? Was it a bit too wide? That it was, because this statement is saying this system is totally fine.
Senator Professor Tomojanda.
Mr. Witness, to the point, at page 14 of 22, you confirm that there were no abstentions, 33 votes to the affirmative. Yet, if you look at the logins running from page 17 to the end, there are many failed logins. Would you verify whether the logins were by the MCAs who were voting? Number two, was it a concern to you that all the votes were yes and there was no person voting in the negative? But lastly, is this an agreed report? Because I can see the governor's team did not sign, only the assembly team signed. All the others who signed are from Senate. Is this a report? And lastly, do you have superior qualifications to these other people?
Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Witness, is it your evidence that indeed, and I want to refer you to page 16, of your document, and specifically bullet 3, voting process integrity. Is it your evidence that despite the fact that we've been informed that credentials of logging were shared, that then the integrity and privacy of the voting was guaranteed? Then, in bullet number 5 or 6, you said user training and awareness. Evidence provided in this, testimony provided in this house states that there was no training. Is it then your testimony that that training was done? Then the last question was, did you get to see the source code and see whether there was a limitation of the number of people who could vote in a certain string? Was the system in the source code, if you inspected it, geo-fenced, or was it accessible from any part globally? Then,
Senator Crystal Asige.
Thank you very much, Speaker. To the witness, you have clarified that there were about 9 IP addresses that were identical. Can you also verify if there were any others that were identical of the 33 votes casted? And can you verify from that list of 33 votes where each IP address is attached in terms of location?
Senator Kinyua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Philip, because we are here in the morning and we have heard that there were challenges with this system, with the MCAs, and I want to quote Honorable Trump, who was here in the morning. And he did mention that they were being assisted, some of them were being assisted. In the course of assisting, was it possible that this person who was assisting would have voted for this member without his knowledge, that now that this person does not know this system? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator A.D. Okech. Then log out, Honorable Senator. Okay. Senator Mofire.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question is to the experts, and I want to know, as an IT expert, based on your audit, do you have confidence in the credibility and the accuracy of the results generated by the voting system? So at the same time, what could be the reason why we have 9 similar IP addresses and the others are different, assuming that they were all using one gateway, one Wi-Fi? Thank you.
Senator Alan Chesang. Senator... No, proceed, Honorable Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the IT expert. Now that on page 5 of your report, you had mentioned that it is not possible, Roman 3. That is a question of Roman 3. You had mentioned that it was not possible for any member of the county assembly to vote for another member. But again, now you've said that it is possible if they have their IPPD address and their ID number. So does that mean that your report, you're not sure of the report that you made? That is number one. And also, does that mean that you can also not assure us that this system is secure? That is number one. And also, maybe you cannot also confirm that you cannot detect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Witness, being the expert that you are, if you are the one putting up this system, setting up the system, are there other safeguards you would have put in place to secure the system and make it foolproof? If you have other suggestions, if you would have done it differently. Thank you.
Senator Shakil Abdallah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is, since it has been established that it's possible for others to vote for others, is it possible to establish the gadgets which were used? Because all the phones are registered under certain names. If I use my phone to vote for Fatma, it will show it is my phone which was used. Is there a way to know that it was my phone used to vote for somebody else? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also wish to know on how long the system was open to allow members to vote. And finally, how do we know if the 9 people who are voting was one person who was voting 9 times? Thank you.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to refer back the witness to the report. And I note that specifically on number 9, that the following persons were in attendance: Mr. Philip Irode, Mr. Joan Mukeire, the Office of the Governor, there was a council, and then there was an ICT advisor from the Mr. Weldon Langat, including the County Assembly, Alfred Korir Kimutai, Mr. Hilary Kiplangat, and then you had the Senate Secretariat, Mr. Zakayo Mogere, Innocent Baya, and Miss Marianne Karanja. The question that I want to ask you is very simple. This report, although you are the witness standing there to be able to submit and to present the report, were you the only person who came up with this report, or this report was a joint exercise by all those people who, by the resolution of this House, ended up carrying out this exercise? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama, just look at the report. The owners of the report are 2, and they signed it in the presence of others. If you look at page 5 of 2022. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to inquire from the witness on why there is an IP address appearing to have voted thrice, contrary to the IP address that they had indicated was supposed to be the one to vote. And I take note of that because it has voted yes thrice. Thank you. And I'm talking about the IP address 154.159.237.85. Thank you.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is on the last terms of reference for Philip. You were told, is there any evidence of multiple voting or compromise? I don't know, did you make use of these particular terms of reference to check if the system can be penetrated by hackers from outside? I don't know if you did, you attempted to penetrate the system so that for our comfort, we know the system is secure.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Witness, as an IT expert, whichever way this matter goes, would you recommend the Kericho County Assembly to continue using this system or any other assembly for that matter? Thank you.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, you said that you received a letter from Senate in order for your authority to be able to undertake this process. This letter was addressed to who specifically? Because just need to understand the 2 hours that the council talked about, then who was really addressed, the letter was addressed to who. Then secondly, this report that you've tabled, did it need any consensus for it to be valid? Number 3, do you think that this system for Kericho County is a valid system that can continue to be used? It's a system from your own expertise that you would recommend that they continue using. Lastly, is that the MCAs that was...
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Ningetaka mkurugenzi atuelezee kulingana na MCA, kuna pahali wanasema walitumia dakika 5 wakaongezea dakika 2 ikakuja na singine ikakuja dakika 11. Sisi hapa Senate wakati speaker anataka tofauti anatuambia toa kandi na uingishe na uweke namba uweze kufuti. Na kama imemaliza dakika kidogo kama haujaweza kuweka la ama ndio unakuta inaenda inapotea. Hii gadget ya Kericho kwani iko namna gani? Kwani iko tofauti na gadget zile zingine kama haijakuwa tembandi nayo?
Senator Kibwana Hamida.
I can't see. Let me wear my glasses. Let me get my glasses.
Are you reading somewhere?
No, I wanted to.
Then speak. We need your mouth, not your eyes.
I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at the numbers in the report. Let me wear my glasses. Glasses zangu zimeenda.
Okay, I'm told everyone on my dashboard has already got an opportunity to speak. So we will allow the witness to respond. Witness, I've given you the go-ahead to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try and answer them in the order that they came through. I have quite a number of them. The first one was clarification if at all 33 MCAs did vote. And our response to that question, Your Honor, is yes, it's an affirmative.
Power his microphone and put it closer to his mouth, please.
The first question was if at all we can be able to clarify that at all the 33 MCAs were able to vote within the system. And of course, our response to that based on the finding is yes, 33 MCAs did vote. We provided evidence for that as per the logs provided within the system. The other question was, and this question has been repeated severally, whether if you have the link and you have the password and you have the username, you can be able to vote. And we have confirmed, yes, you can be able to vote for one another. However, the link was being sent to an individual user MCA. Therefore, once you receive your link, you are able to vote if you only have your username and your password. The other question was, if the system is okay based on the question 5. If we go to question 5, we were asked the question as was directed to us as ICT authority to respond was, is there any evidence of multiple or compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system or process? And I will want us to underline the word evidence. Our field is based on evidence. I have to be able to provide evidence. And the evidence that I collected is based on the logs that the system has no evidence of multiple voting. It has no evidence of compromise or any other impropriety of the voting system. And that's what we responded to, based on evidence. The other question was, from the failed logins. I think there was a senator who asked about failed logins. From the logins, you can actually tell that the system is secure because if you do not have your username and password, it does not let you get through. You need to have your appropriate username and password for you to be able to log in. And from the extracted logs that we have, we had actually even been able to see a number of attempted multiple logins yesterday, which never went through. The other question was, it was on shared credentials. And as I've said, from a practitioner's perspective, we are all taught that your username and password is a personal information that you should not be able to share. And as senators, we are aware of the Data Protection Act, which specifically guides that username and password, or perhaps an ID, is personal identifiable information, and therefore data that is personal. And therefore, if at all it was a practice within the county to share username and passwords, I think that is a wrong practice. However, from the evidence, and I'll still insist from the evidence that we collected, we were not able to ascertain that level of practice. There's a question on training, source code, and I'll respond to this by saying that within the time limit provided, we were here at 2, we were meant to provide a report at 6, and I have said we zeroed our response towards answering the 5 questions that were posed to the ICT Authority CEO, which meant that we look into the system, the exposed interface of the system, the voters module, the hosting architecture of the system, to be able to gather enough evidence to respond to those questions. The issue of geofencing, that is an architectural issue that perhaps require additional time for you to be able to ascertain whether the code has included aspects of geofencing. There's also a repeated issue about the 9 IP addresses, and as I have earlier responded to, is that these IP addresses are ideally a gateway for the county assemblies local LAN, that is local area network, or Wi-Fi, if that is what the MCAs use as an internet gateway. There was an issue about Mr. Trump, the challenges associated with voting. As a good practice, ideally, as I had said, from a practical ITGC, which is Information Technology General Controls, users are meant to be trained, and we received an affirmative Excel sheet that indicated that this had been done at the county. The other question was, we report about the system IP address. I think we have clarified that in our report, that the system is hosted on off-premise. That means not within the premise of the county. The system is hosted out of country. That is a host pinnacle. We have provided the published URL in our report that is on page 4. We were also asked to confirm whether the system is secure. I would want to confirm that we did an internal scan within the system, basically which is some sort of vulnerability pen test within the system. And I can confirm within this sitting that the system as it is secure, and that was actually demonstrated by the logs that we printed, which indicated quite considerable number of failed attempt logins. The other question was, if you were to be the one setting up the system, what would you do? As a practitioner, there are guidelines and frameworks that we define that guide us on how best to set up the system. And we are guided by, of course, governance practices, the system value, the proposition, the return to the users, as well as good practice around security, resilience, and of course, data privacy. So I will make sure that all that aspects are inbuilt within the system, which is ideally what we were looking into when we reviewed the system. The other question was in regards to the MCA's phone devices, IP addresses. As I had said earlier, if the MCAs were using the system with their devices and using the local gateway, which is the Wi-Fi, they will all resolve to one IP, which is the outward-facing IP, which is ideally what some of the senates have addressed. And when we looked at these IPs, they are actually local ISP service providers, including our Safaricom, Airtel, and the likes. There is the question that was asked around system, if you are able to allow members to vote. I think I have indicated that you can only vote if you have the URL, and the URL, once you vote, it deactivates. So you cannot cast your vote twice. There was the question on whether this exercise was a joint exercise. I think I would want to answer that this is our report. Myself and my colleague, my senior information security analyst, Joanne, we sat here yesterday from around 4 to late in the night preparing this report. And I think it is our responsibility to sign the report. Any other person had no obligation to sign it. They can sign it if they so wish. Otherwise, it was our report which we were presenting to the clerk's office. There is a question that has been asked whether IP 154.159.237.217 appears thrice. It is the same scenario. You can have, the architecture of mobile devices is when you are moving within the base stations, each base station has an IP address. So whether you are within the premises of a base station, you'll definitely have one IP address if you are on a different ISP, if you are on the same ISP provider. The other question was on ideally whether we can ascertain that the system has been secured. As I have said, yes, we've done a scan using our in-house tools provided by the ICT Authority, and we can verify that the system is secure, as it has been demonstrated by the logs that are part of our annexes to this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've... No,
Thank you.
Think, yeah, there are some questions.
Now you've... yes, Senator Christo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, listen, I only have just one question, which had not been answered. To the witness, I asked you just one question. I said, let me restate it. I asked, you have 33 people who have voted, according to the report. And you say that each of the votes cast are attached to a particular IP address. Some are in clusters, meaning they're identical to others. But can you tell us with certainty the geographical location of each of those IP addresses? If 33 people voted, where exactly did they vote from geographically according to the IP address attached to their vote, Speaker?
I will also allow Senator Omtata, who has difficulty with his card. You may now proceed.
Yes,
Senator Azena, you had an opportunity. Senator Omtata, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We are having the expert, the authority, the expert of experts before us. The IC authority of the Republic should be the expert of experts. And listening to him, it's like he's walking away from this report. If he did not have adequate resources, like I'm looking at answer number 4, you answer using, you put the word no in capitals, Yet, you have qualified it that you did not have enough staff to give us a credible answer. Because as you know, if you looked at what the County Assembly presented, those logs, there was no audit trail in those logs. And I appreciate that you had a very short time. You have presented your issues here. So I'm trying to struggle with the evidentiary value of this report.
Give the senator half a minute.
So, of what value is this report? And number two, for lawfulness, we are told about .go.ke and .co.ke. As the regulator of the system, can a county government be allowed to run a system on an open server or a private host, or must this be on a government host? It came up during submissions.
Thank you. Senator Hazana, you're saying your question has not been addressed. Can you repeat it?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The question has not been answered because I asked how come there were 3 MCAs who voted using the same IP address, and he has said that it was if one person is using their phone and moving around the vicinity into different locations, that it will use the same IP address. But this is 3 different MCAs from the code of the MCA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, 5 minutes, conclude witness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll continue responding to the questions because I hadn't addressed all of them. There was a question that asked to whom the letter was addressed to. The response to that is the letter was addressed to our PS, who's the PS State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, requesting the ICT Authority CEO to nominate officers. Then there was a follow-up question regarding whether the report required consensus. Our response is no, because it is based on evidence that we have collected within the environment that we were working on. There was a follow-up question whether the system is valid. Yeah, I think if the system is valid and up to date, and the answer is yes. The system based on the scope and our surroundings that we were working on, yes, the evidentiary collected within the system are valid. There's a question that has been posed by Senator Mtata asking about the response to question, I think you mentioned 3. Was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or another MCA? I have indicated here that the answer is no. You cannot vote for any other person, and I have qualified it. You can only vote if you have all the 3 parameters, which is the link, which was provided for by the County Assembly, and then you meant to be private and privileged information. To respond to the other question that has lastly been asked, it is what value is the report? I think based on the matters at hand, your Honorable Speaker, this report is meant to guide us. We are responding to the questions that were posed to the ICT Authority in responding to the allegations of whether the system is a secure voting platform or not. And based on the evidence that we have provided before this House, in my field, we base our conclusion on evidence. And that is what we have provided based on the logs, based in the presence of both parties, and we have provided this to this House. We have clarified issues to do with IP addresses. IP is a unique...
Witness,
Yes, Your Honor.
Just be very specific. Respond to the question by Crystal Asigi so that we end it there.
Yeah, so the question asked by Honorable Senator is, are we able to ascertain with certainty MAC addresses? I'll still echo my earlier sentiments that MAC addresses are unique to devices, and MAC addresses are mapped to IP addresses. You need to have an IP addresses for you to access an external facing application. And based on the configuration of the system, within the logs configuration, the logs have provided an IP address which corresponds to a unique MAC address. However, within the logs within that voting system, MAC addresses are not configured as audit details to be collected.
So you are not able to geographically place them?
You can, using your IP, and ideally this is where the confusion between an IP and a MAC address comes in. A MAC address does not give you an IP a location, but an IP address gives you an IP location. And that is why we have used the IP addresses to confirm that these IP addresses were within the geographical location of the county assembly, because these are base station IPs.
Order. Let the witness respond, Senator Hezen and Senator Crystal Asigi. Just conclude, witness.
Your Honor, as I was saying, IP addresses gives you geolocation. However, MAC addresses don't give you geolocation. And based on the architecture of some of the systems we have, we only collect the outward-facing IP address. This basically means that that system is exposed to users outside. So you don't expose your internal IPs, but you expose your outside IPs. And the IPs that we have identified here are ISPs that belong to local ISP providers, as we have indicated, Safaricom, Airtel, and any other ISP within that geolocation, Your Honor.
Okay. So assuming the senators vote the way Kericho did, and they're all seated inside the chamber here,
so
they will still have different IP addresses. If
you
they're
are
all seated here, voting the Kericho way, will they still have, they will have different IP addresses?
So depending on if your system that you are using is a web-based system that has to be accessed online, and the way the network has been, there is a principle called network address translation. You assign a system an internal IP. Then you assign your gateway. The gateway, for example, is this door. You configure the system such that you say any requests that are coming outside have to pass through this door and go to port so and so. So that basically means when you are coming in, you will have this door as the log. It indicates that you've actually accessed this system. Then you'll go and sit at a certain place. So that is basically assigning an IP and a service to a system. So we will all have the same IP if it is an external facing application that has to resolve using an external facing IP address, Your Honor.
Have a seat, Pat. We will now proceed to the closing statements. We will start with the County Assembly. You have 60 minutes to do so. You may utilize all of it, or you may utilize part of it, but the maximum is 60 minutes. Likewise, the Council for Governor, you have 60 minutes to also make your closing statement. You may proceed. Your time starts running from now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. For record purposes, my name is Kipkorir Elvis. I will make the closing submissions on behalf of the County Assembly, and I will take the first 25 minutes, after which Learned Counsel Mr. Ongoya will take the remainder of the time. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, exactly 15 years ago, Kenya embarked on a transformative journey in its adoption of a devolved system of governance. This was an answer to an enduring desire by many a Kenyan who earnestly yearned for public services closer to them. Indeed, honorable senators, devolution has been mooted as the genius of the 2010 Constitution, as it marked a complete departure from the previous system that had been characterized by marginalization, mismanagement of resources, runaway corruption, amongst other challenges. The term of the present governor, the governor that is on trial today, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, has marked a silent retreat to that dark past. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, county governments hold the key to effective service delivery. The expectation of the people is that county governance would enhance efficiency to their benefit and not for the self-aggrandizement of the governor. As the County Assembly has demonstrated, the governor's debut in office was marked by the invasion of a private citizen's property, the tearing down of a fence, and its designation as a dump site illegally, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. You will recall that when video number KCAV11 was played, the video was taken barely 2 days after the governor was sworn into office, and that is the first thing that he did in announcing that there was a new sheriff in town. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the facts of the matter before you and the evidence that the County Assembly has led disclose a sorry tale of maladministration and a failure of moral courage. To paraphrase William Shakespeare, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, something is wrong in Kericho. It is our submission that the County Assembly of Kericho has made an overwhelming case of bad behavior on the part of the governor. A classic betrayal of the trust bestowed on the governor by the residents of Kericho County. And Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the question we pose is whether bad behavior should attract any consequences. And the answer to that is in the affirmative. Those who are sent to public office, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, and elect to betray the trust that the people have placed in them, like the governor on trial today, ought to be impeached. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, impeachment is a constitutional instrument rooted in the Constitution of Kenya, Article 181, and is designed to protect the sanctity of public office and the interest of the people. The process before you today is therefore an affirmation of the supremacy of the rule of law and accountability of elected leaders. Briefly, Article 181(4) sets out the grounds upon which a county governor may be impeached or removed from office. The first one is gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. Secondly, there being serious reasons to believe that the governor has committed a crime under national or international law, abuse of office, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office. These requirements are mirrored under Section 33 of the County Governments Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. And there is jurisprudence that confirms that the impeachments must be based on evidence presented and not on minor procedural errors or political differences in the county governments. This is a sui juris process, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, and it is not about the criminality or culpability, but the accountability, political governance, as well as political responsibility of the county governor. The standard of proof in our humble submission is that it is neither beyond reasonable doubt nor on a balance of probability. It is slightly above a balance of probability, but below that of reasonable doubt. At the core of the charges the governor on trial is facing is the theft of public funds, resources entrusted to the governor for the benefit and development of Kericho County. And the evidence presented before this House, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, paints a damning picture of misappropriation of public funds which have been placed in the hands of the governor to manage and oversee on behalf of the residents of Kericho County. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, you will recall that on 30th June 2023, a grisly road accident occurred at Londiani Junction involving a truck that lost control and rammed into small-scale traders and other road users, claiming the lives of at least 52 citizens. You may also recall that in response, the national government and the other emergency response teams mobilized resources to help the families of people who had lost their lives and those who had been injured. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly of Kericho has led evidence of how the funds meant for the victims of the grisly road accident were misappropriated with the blessings of the governor who is on trial today. The County Assembly's witness, Mr. Kiprotich Rogony, and the mover of the motion at the County Assembly confirmed this on the witness stand and also by the affidavit evidence that is contained in the County Assembly's bundle of documents. The evidence, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, demonstrates that on the 15th of August 2023, the governor of Kericho compensated the victims of the Londiani accident from the County Emergency Fund to cover up for the funds raised by the public and which had been misappropriated by a committee he had formed to steer the funds drive, and without a cogent explanation of how the funds publicly raised for the victims had been expended. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the evidence led by the County Assembly is that on the various dates between the 4th of July 2023 and 9th of July 2023, the governor engaged in acts which grossly violated the provisions of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution, and Sections 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act by overseeing the misappropriation of funds raised for the victims of the accident at Londiani, in which over 9 million shillings of publicly raised funds were lost. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, I invite all of us present in this chamber this evening to pause in harsh memory of those who lost their lives in Londiani, but whose dignity endures beyond their graves. For what injustice, for what deeper wound would be inflicted on the families of the victims, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, than to rob them of the meager allocations from the funds that were raised by members of the public, including some of us present here today, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators. The dead do not protest, but how insensitive, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, would one have to be to trespass where sorrow has already claimed its toll? Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor has reneged on his undertaking to implement the report of the County Assembly ad hoc committee on the Londiani accident and the misappropriation of funds that followed the accident. There is evidence that the governor expressly supported a petition by those implicated in the County Assembly's ad hoc committee, and the cases that the County Assembly cited were Kericho ELRC petition number E006 of 2023, Dr. Wesley Bor and 5 others versus the governor, Kericho County Government and 5 others, and Kericho ELRC E014 of 2023, Victor Tum and others versus the governor, Kericho County Government and others. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor has allowed himself, and the County Assembly has led evidence to this effect. The governor has allowed himself to be a master of doublespeak in grave matters and this is in violation. This has been in violation of Article 73 of the Constitution, which demands that at all times he demonstrates respect to the people and conducts himself in a manner that brings dignity and honor to the office that he holds. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor's response to this allegation is that the lost funds were occasioned by, the loss of the funds were occasioned by the people other than him. He then tells you that he has no power to take disciplinary action recommended by the County Assembly's ad hoc committee on the misappropriation of the funds meant for the victims of the Londiani accident. Surely, the governor cannot have the grapes and the wine. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of how on 14th of February 2023, the governor launched an initiative in Kericho called the Kazi Mtaani Initiative. In so doing, he drew public funds without a proper legislative anchor, public participation, prior approval by the County Assembly or the Controller of Budget, or the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honorable Kiprotich Rogony, who testified on behalf of the County Assembly, confirmed in his testimony that some contractors engaged by municipalities were not in the list of pre-qualified suppliers, and that the companies that were paid, yet they were not in the list of pre-qualified suppliers, included Citron General Works, Iglaris Company Limited, Edkiche Investments Limited, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, evidence has been led to demonstrate that between January 2025 and July 2025, the governor aided, abated, or condoned the fictitious payments for goods or services which were neither delivered nor done. Resultantly, the county government of Kericho lost approximately Kenya shillings 85,704,522.90 from the payments allegedly made for 1, proposed repairs, redecoration and re-roofing works done to council houses at Kipkelion West Sub-County, next to the Sub-County Administrator's Office. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, you were shown photos of houses at Kipkelion contained at volume 6A of the County Assembly's bundle of documents, for whose repairs, redecoration and re-roofing a sum of Kenya shillings 2,999,000 was paid to Dibral Ventures Limited. The report of the County Assembly Ad Hoc Committee on Fictitious Payments and the testimony of Honorable Albert Kipkoech confirmed as much. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly of Kericho has tabled before this Senate evidence of local supplies orders that were generated on 20th of February, printed on the 25th of February, 2025, and signed on the 21st of February, 2025. It was demonstrated that the LSOs were prepared way after the payments had been made, and you were shown that the interim payment certificate indicated a sum of Kenya shillings 2,699,100, yet the payment vouchers indicated that the full sum of Kenya shillings 2,999,000 was paid. Mr. Speaker, sir, no evidence to the contrary has been led by the governor. Evidence has been led, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, of an event at Chelimo, at a place called Chelimo, which though initially scheduled to be a 5-day event, ended up being a 1-day event. Yet requisitions were made for the 5 days. The County Assembly has demonstrated that contrary to the items listed in the payment voucher, no tea, no snacks, no buffet lunch, or soft drinks were served as alleged in the payment vouchers that were presented. Similarly, there was no public address system with a backup generator or tents that was supplied during the event. Evidence was led of a local supply order in favor of Denby Holdings Limited, which reveals that it was issued on the 20th of February 2025, more than 2 months after the actual event, and more than 3 months after the requisition. That evidence, Mr. Speaker, sir, has not been controverted, and the payments are confirmed by the extracts from the IFMIS, which the County Assembly has supplied to this Honorable House in its bundle of documents. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of a company called Mengro Products Limited that was paid a retention sum of Kenya shillings 395,028 shillings and 63 cents for a project called Whispers Nyakinywa Road in Kidawa Ward. It has been demonstrated that the road was done in 2018-2019 financial year, and as per the documentation provided by the County Assembly, the Inspection and Acceptance Committee was appointed in September 2024, more than 4 years later. Significantly, Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, the Assembly has produced a staff redeployment memo confirming that the person named as the Secretary to the Inspection and Acceptance Committee, one Lillian Chelagat, was at the time of the report dated 9th September 2024, not working in the said department and only moved to the department on 10th of January 2025, way after the alleged inspection had been signed by her. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of double payments of retention fees for the same contract. Each of the reports of the Inspection and Acceptance Committee have the same months of September 2024, and each of those reports have the same observations relating to the status of the project. That is, and I quote, bush clearing, grading and graveling activities were done to the required specifications and workmanship was substantially satisfactory, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, this observation has been made in several reports, notwithstanding the nature of the project and the defect liability period. And the Assembly has demonstrated that payments for these projects were made on the basis of falsified documents. It has been demonstrated, Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, that some of the goods and services and works were procured without following proper procurement processes. There were no tender opening committees, as required by the Public Procurement and Assets Disposal Act at Section 78, as read together with the regulations on public procurement and asset disposal. Similarly, the Assembly has led evidence that there were no professional opinions done to the accounting officers as required by Section 84 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, evidence has been led to the effect that in the financial year 2024-2025, the Department of Agriculture, Livestock and Cooperative Management budgeted a sum of Kenya shillings 14,980,640 for the purchase of soya, beans, sunflower seed cake, and cotton seed cake to support cooperative societies within the county of Kericho. Anomalies in the procurement process have been demonstrated, and the ad hoc committee on fictitious payments noted that at the time the payments were made, no supplies had been done to the various cooperatives, despite full payments having been made to the suppliers. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honorable Senators, funds allocated for critical services, including healthcare, strategic intervention programs, and infrastructure have been siphoned for personal enrichment and clandestine interest within the county government of Kericho. You have been treated to attempts to deflate the issues on misappropriation of funds, and you have been told that the mover of the motion is hell-bent on getting the governor out of office by whatever means. You have also been told, all in an attempt to deflect from the main issues, that the impeachment proceedings are motivated by other interests. Far from it, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators. It is not about who the governor perceives to be his competitor. It is about accountability, and it is about protecting the resources of the people of Kericho County. The County Assembly led evidence to demonstrate that the period between the year 2023 and the year 2025, the governor presided over unfair, skewed, and nepotic distribution of projects under a program called the FLOCA funds. The funds have been utilized in an imprudent manner and misappropriated. It has been demonstrated by the County Assembly that the governor's home ward, namely Chemosot ward, got projects worth 21,701,590, while many other wards, not only in other sub-counties, but even within Bureti sub-county, which have not received a single project under the fund. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the affidavit and the evidence of Mr. Honorable Vincent Korir contained in volume 3 of the County Assembly's bundle of documents at pages 109 to 113, and the video marked as KCAV5 confirms as much. In other instances, the position taken by the governor in his response contradicts the position that has been taken by his county executive committee members, and one instance stands out. There is a project that has been flagged called Soliat Tree Nursery Establishment Project, in which the Committee on Fictitious Payments noted that the water pumps, the pipes, and the fittings had not been delivered or installed in the project, while the governor maintained that the project had been done as per the bill of quantities contained in volume 2, page 133 of his bundle of documents. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, at volume 4A, pages 377 of the County Assembly's bundle of documents, you will note that the scope of work included installation of water pumps, fitting of pipes, and yet that was not done. It is the County Assembly's case that this points to a governor who is either out of touch or complicit in the misappropriation of funds. And Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, what more could constitute bad behavior? Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, on the 3rd of September 2024, the governor engaged in acts of misconduct, gross misconduct, and grossly violated the provisions of Articles 10, 73, 75, 174, and 185 of the Constitution, and abused his office by writing to the Speaker of the County Assembly, purporting to direct the Speaker on inter alia the timelines within which the Speaker should give the chief officers who are summoned by the Assembly for questioning in exercise of the County Assembly's mandate. The County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, has tabled evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and complicity in the acts of subversion, discrediting, and impeding of the overall oversight role of the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, in response to all these grave allegations that have been leveled against the governor of Kericho on misappropriation of funds, he has elected to hinge his defense on technicalities and mere denials. The documentary evidence presented, the audit reports, and the testimonies presented by the witnesses who testified before this Honorable House paint a totally different picture. They paint a consistent picture of systemic misappropriation of funds. The gravity and volume of irregularities cannot be explained away by mere administrative lapses. And Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, The people of Kericho have entrusted you to be vigilant stewards of their resources, and they are looking up to you tonight. None of the witnesses the governor lined up to testify on his behalf testified on the substantive charges that this House is investigating. And we invite you to draw an adverse inference on that account, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators. Misappropriation of public funds is not just an economic wrong, it is a moral affront, and it inflicts lasting humiliation on the people who are forced to endure the consequences, some of which are dilapidated roads, hospitals, and other attendant failures in governance. It breeds a culture of impunity, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, where those in high office believe that they can act with wanton abandon and shielded by political connections or procedural technicalities. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, we beseech you not to allow impunity to take root in the county government of Kericho. We urge you to let the vote today be a testament to the enduring values of our Constitution: accountability, transparency, and justice. Justice for the people of Kericho, justice for the residents who have had to endure the consequences of the misappropriated funds, and particularly justice for those who bestowed their trust on the governor, and in the hope that he would deliver on the promises that he made. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, I respectfully urge you on behalf of the County Assembly of Kericho to find that the charges against the governor have been substantiated. I thank you and will yield the floor to my senior, Mr. Ongoya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, distinguished senators. For the record, my name is Ongoya, representing the County Assembly of Kericho. I wish to begin by making an overall observation that after all the charges that were leveled and all the evidence particularized of impropriety against the governor chose not to take the witness stand and answer to any of those charges. The question is this: when a charge is leveled and the evidence, the quantity and weight of which has been played before you by way of witness testimonies, documentary evidence, and video evidence, and the person called to account refuses to take the opportunity given to him to account, what inference will you draw from that? When you begin deliberating, I invite you to consider that aspect of this case. Having said that, there are certain matters that arose in the course of clarification by senators that I wish to address myself to as part of these closing submissions. We stand here as lawyers, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, as people who have to offer guidance on the harmony or otherwise between the evidence on record and the law established. The conclusions to be drawn from that evidence on record and the law established are purely yours as judges, and as participants in the justice process, we have no choice but to accept your verdict unless one pursues any other option known to law. So two questions arose, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished Senator Onyonka presented to the expert witness a question in the form of that both the passwords and the usernames to this system were made accessible to all MCAs. Mr. Speaker, sir, let the Hansard record me as saying that there is no such claim made by any witness before this assembly. The witness before this, the evidence before this Senate has been and remains this. 2 links were sent to MCAs. Link number 1 communicated IPPD numbers which were to be used as the user names. A username, to my lay understanding, is like my email address, which I put on my letterheads and put on my contact numbers, which is itself not a risk. The second link was the voting link. It went with the instruction that every individual MCA will use their own ID, national identification card numbers to vote, so that the aspect of the passwords were never communicated to everybody at all. I have been a participant in the processes of this House, both as an academic and as an advocate, as I'm doing, and I know that there is a rule in this House of accuracy of facts. Whenever one makes a decision, the accurate fact is that no witness, both from the governor's side or the assembly side or the expert, stated anything to the effect that people's ID numbers were communicated to everybody. It is important that that fact is captured by the record and the decision makers so that a decision is made on the correct set of facts. Secondly, a question arose from the clarifications as to whether there was a possibility of geolocation of these IP addresses. I can do no better, because I am no IT expert and cannot pretend to be one, than to look at this Senate's own appointed expert. At page 13 of that expert's report is IP address lookup. Page 13 of that is IP address lookup. Then it says geolocation data from, then there are some details there, but I'm interested in the country, Kenya, region, Kericho. I do not know what conclusion you can draw from that, because I am no ICT expert, but the only evidence available to us shows some geolocation of this IP address to Kericho. I thought that is an important question for you to take into account. Allow me to then address the question that has now emerged as the question of the voting process. And let me observe this. Number one, whereas this House is not strictly bound by rules of evidence, this House, in fact, applies rules of evidence, by which I mean it does not completely disregard rules of evidence. That is why witnesses swear their affidavits as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses take the witness stand and are sworn as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are examined in chief as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are cross-examined as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are re-examined as required by rules of evidence. So the point I'm making is that whereas you are not strictly bound by rules of evidence, your rules don't disregard rules of evidence. There is a presumption in evidence law called presumption of regularity, that when you are presented with official documents, Kenya Gazette's official government reports, you presume them to be regular until credible evidence to the contrary is proved, is presented. The County Assembly has presented you evidence of 33 MCAs voting for the impeachment of this governor. The County Assembly has given you an expert witness who has said, as far as is concerned, these 33 MCAs voted for the impeachment of this governor. The governor has presented an expert here. That expert has not controverted that factual content of the official document, the Hansard, that in fact 33 MCAs voted for this governor. This Senate, faced with those two witnesses, has called its own ICT expert. That ICT expert has returned a verdict that from the information available to him, in fact, 33 MCAs voted for the impeachment of this governor. It forces, therefore, it demands, therefore, us to conclude that no evidence has been presented that challenges the Hansard of the County Assembly and the resolution of the County Assembly that 33 MCAs voted for the governor. Let us look at the attempts to challenge that position. First, the records will show you, for you, were premeditated claims. He entertained these claims in advance of the voting process. His advocate is captured in the Hansard of the County Assembly saying, we know that people have voted for or will vote for 4 members of the County Assembly. This was said in advance of the voting. Let us look at this carefully. An MCA comes and tells you that 18 MCAs left their phones in the car. The MCA who came here, Honorable Anita Mibei, confirms she had her phone inside the chamber. It means the allegation that these MCAs left their phones inside the car is not worth of any credit. That's what it logically means. She introduces a new nuance of her phone going off, which was not contained anywhere in the affidavits she presented before this House. All MCAs who came here confirmed that they were all in the House. All the 47 MCAs were present in the House. All the MCAs were given an opportunity to vote. The Speaker announced that all of you have an opportunity to vote, and here is the voting method. And if any one of you has difficulties, go to the gadgets presented to you by this assembly and be assisted to cast your vote. No MCA says, I attempted to cast my vote as guided and anyone frustrated me. No MCA says so. The governor makes a claim that 4 MCAs did not in fact vote. The system returns them to have voted. One of those 4 MCAs comes before you with another affidavit. She's called Edna, and says, in fact, the contents of the other affidavit is wrong. In fact, I voted, and in fact, I never signed the other affidavits. What is the net effect of this development? The net effect of this development can only be one: distinguished senators, and that is the claim that these 4 MCAs did not vote is not believable. That's the only conclusion you can draw. So, let us face this. The governors, I'll come to that in a short while when I begin analyzing those witnesses one by one. But let me address you on the lack of logic in the totality of the governor's case theory. There were 47 MCAs entitled to vote in Kericho County Assembly on the 15th of August, 2025. If you believe, as the governor believed, and as his council believed, that someone voted for you with your credentials, the logical thing is to attempt to log in with those credentials and say, I was unable to log in because somebody had already used them as passwords to log in. That's the logical thing. The other thing, if you believe that the system was capable of double voting, is to log in and vote yourself. Because once you log in and vote yourself, and somebody else has double voted, the system will return more votes than the registered voters. That's the logical thing. So I do not know, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, whether we have a case of imprudence or dishonesty on the part of these witnesses. But I want you, when you consider this matter in your own debate, to tell me how somebody will fail to take advantage of these two possible and irrefutable evidence creating acts and come and present another one to tell you, I did not vote. And let's face it. These are the very MCAs you saw by your own clip. The Governor's Council at the Assembly telling them, stand up and demonstrate you will vote support the governor. One of them says they had met the governor earlier and they had agreed on that position. First, that is legislative impropriety. Will you believe a representative of the people who confesses to have engaged in that conduct? I am inviting you to find the overall conduct of these people to be not worth of your credit. But let me point out something else. Mr. Peter Wanyama, advocate for the governor, says, in fact, he logged into this system twice and voted. The county assembly's expert has not seen that login of his. The governor's own expert today has confirmed he didn't see that login by Peter. The independent expert by this house has confirmed he didn't see that login by Peter Wanyama. It means the governor's case theory is found on a shameless lie that an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and our profession, Mr. Speaker, sir, thankfully for me, you belong to this profession, and distinguished senators, some of you belong to this profession, abhors an advocate vouching for his client. An advocate presents evidence as presented by witnesses and the law established. But if the advocate himself can take the extreme stance taken by Mr. Peter Wanyama Learned Counsel to present a factual wrong that he logged in this system and voted, a fact which his own witness says, I didn't see it in the logs, a fact which the independent witness of this house, the expert, says, I didn't see that in the logs, a fact which Mr. Peter Wanyama himself was unwilling or unable to take the witness stand and be cross-examined on. I invite you to draw a conclusion that there is enough evidence that the governor was willing to go to any extent to deceive this house, that this voting process was in fact compromised. Let's face it, distinguished senators. Every system, ICT or otherwise, can be made better. Any system can be made better. Banks work on ICT system, and many other systems now, operations work on ICT systems, whether they medical systems, be they aviation industry systems, and all other systems. Each one of them can be made better. The fact that the system adopted by the County Assembly of Kericho can be made better is not a basis for invalidating that which it has done. The only basis for invalidating that which it has done is credible and irrefutable evidence that the system was in fact compromised, not capable of being compromised. No single witness before you has brought that evidence that this system was in fact compromised. Learned Senior Counsel, Mr. Katwa Kigen, I would reiterate, Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the most courteous counsel that I know, one of the most polite counsel I know, and a mentor to many young lawyers that I teach, came here and this, in his opening remarks, which are captured at page 25 of Wednesday this week morning, observes that this site was pulled down, and in a response to the PO, it was brought up again. The logs by these witnesses would have shown that act of pulling down the site and re-uploading the site. Not the county assembly's witness, not the governor's witness, not the independent witness of this Senate has captured that log of interference with this site by pulling it down and re-uploading it. I am reiterating a simple and straightforward case that this evidence shows that this governor could go to any extent, including getting senior and reputable counsel to present factual inaccuracies before this Senate just to achieve the termination of these proceedings on a technical objection. As you vote on this issue, I beseech you to debate these questions, and if you reach answers contrary to these submissions, I will live with your verdict peacefully. If you reach a verdict that conforms to this verdict, once again, I will be able to live with it peacefully. Look at how the county governor's council stood before the county assembly and the governor himself and commandeered, assumed the speaker's role, commandeered the MCAs stand up. What had they done to those MCAs to assume that kind of control over them? I am not sure that if I stood before here and commanded these senators to stand up in direction, they will take it seriously, however persuasive my case. What had they done to them? Between this system that provided some form of privacy for the individual MCA and the so-called roll call system, in that context of this governor and this advocate commandeering MCAs on record, which one would have guaranteed better integrity and independence of decision-making by this assembly? It is expected that any MCA who took advantage of that semblance of independence and voted for this motion, having been earlier intimidated and commandeered, may consider stating that they had not voted. In the next few minutes, let me reflect on the question raised by the majority leader on the 3 MCAs. For starters, distinguished senators, there were 4 who took that position as represented by the governor. Along the way, my learned colleague, Mr. Katwa Kigen, confirmed one of them abandoned that position. This position that we did not vote, which witnesses are liberally taking and abandoning, can we take it as a definitively confirmed position that witnesses didn't vote? Because they are taking and abandoning. That's number 1. Number 2, let's look at the residual 3 that are of concern to the question raised by the majority leader on behalf of the House. One of them is Martin Kiplangat Cheruyot. First, you'll notice that Martin Kiplangat Cheruyot swore the same affidavit with Edna Tonui. Same affidavit, they jointly signed it as we. Edna Tonui has now told us, I never signed that affidavit by her own affidavit. On what basis would we believe that affidavit where one of the owners has disowned? It is said, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, that if the alligator came from the sea, systems do this, an expert told to audit this system can recommend some things that can make this not to happen. It does not mean that what we are doing here is invalid. What we are doing here remains valid regardless of this kind of systemic challenges. So I'd said, it is said that if an alligator came from the sea and told you Mr. Crocodile is sick, you don't say, I am going to the city to verify for myself. In regard of the affidavit jointly sworn by Edna and Martin Kiplangat Cheruyot, the alligator that has come from the sea, symbolically speaking, and with due respect, is Edna. She has told us that affidavit is fake. That signature is not mine. How much more evidence do we need to discredit that affidavit? Then comes the other joint affidavit of the 18 MCS, on which again Edna's name is indicated. She has come from the sea and told us that affidavit is fake. I didn't sign it. Why would we believe anything from that affidavit? So that would be the approach, Majority Leader, distinguished senators, if I were confronted with that evidentiary question. But that is not enough. That is not enough. Consider the evidence of Amos Birir Trump, who is asked a simple question, Mr. Speaker. This affidavit you claim to have signed jointly, the 18 of you, what time did you sign it? Daytime or nighttime? He says he signed it after lunch. It turns out the assembly proceedings went on until past 8 p.m., and that affidavit contains proceedings of the assembly, meaning it could only have been signed in the night. Normal advocates would have closed their offices at that time. They would tell their clients to come back tomorrow. Can we believe that witness who says those things? I say this because what is before you is whether you have credible evidence to disturb the presumption of regularity of the county assembly's Hansard and resolution as communicated to you. Let's then look at this Amos Birir, the Trump. He came here as an old man, stated his age, and initially looked very credible, even to me, initially. When confronted by learned colleague, Mr. Mutuma, in cross-examination, I do not know what your assessment of him was. Let me just say, in my assessment, he struck me as an old man, yes, but not very honest. Simple facts as to whether he has an internet-enabled phone, whereas his affidavit gave us an impression that he had no internet-enabled phone, he was on WhatsApp. In fact, that number, which he said was in the phone he was carrying in this house, was itself on WhatsApp. I do not know how much more credibility you can give such a witness. He needs redemption in the area of credibility, if you sought my opinion. The verdict belongs to you, as whether you would believe him. A witness called Hilary Kibet Bosuben confirmed that he had a laptop supplied to him by the county assembly. He confirmed to him that he used this integrated system. Remember, voting is just one of the components of this system, but this system discharges multiple other functions. He used this same system to make his requisitions for payment of allowances for committee sittings, to register his attendance at committee sittings. It's these same people who use this system to register their attendance in committee sittings who are saying they have never been trained on this system. Fortunately for us, none of them claim to be missing out on their sitting allowances because of this system. It's enabling them in their bread and butter matters. It is only when voting is concerned that they draw the line. I then pose the question, are these the people, distinguished senators, whom you will say that you believe them that they didn't vote? Because to disturb the verdict of this assembly, you must reach a conclusion that, in fact, these people did not vote for the motion. At that juncture, credibility becomes the most important question. As you consider this motion, distinguished senators, remember Geoffrey Bett. Geoffrey Bett appeared before you as a person living with a disability, a mobility-related disability. He poured his heart out to you. He told you, I have come before you as part of my healing process. He told you, this governor confronted me in a joint sitting of the CECs and COs. He told you in that joint sitting of CECs and COs, when I was proposing to him that rather than procuring a financial management system at 68 million shillings, we can internally develop it at about 1 million shillings and prudently use taxpayers' money. He told me, I thought you only had a physical disability of your limbs. Kumbe, you also have a mental disability. Those were the words of Geoffrey Bett here. Geoffrey Bett has told you, I have come to this Senate as part of my healing process. I want you to consider Geoffrey Bett as you vote. Will your vote to rescue this governor aid Geoffrey Bett in healing? Or will your vote to save this governor add insult to injury to Geoffrey Bett? That issue is on trial before the Senate. Given a chance to take the witness stand, defend himself, and possibly address Geoffrey Bett wherever he is and say, Geoffrey Bett, before this same forum you sit, I am sorry for what I did to you. The governor has chosen not to take that stand. Allegations of financial impropriety, particulars of which were laid before you by various witnesses and documents, and which have been summarized by the learned counsel who came before me, are clear that Kericho County is hemorrhaging in loss of public funds. The governor had two opportunities. One, to get his concerned officers, CECs, COs, procurement officers, to swear affidavits and shed light on these matters. I invite you to reach a conclusion that the failure of the governor to call those witnesses to come before you and give account constitutes his shielding of those witnesses. A governor who shields witnesses who spend taxpayers' money, as we showed you on the Kipkelion housing saga, who shields his officers who spend money, as we showed you, in respect of the Londiani unfortunate accident victims, cannot claim it is not my act. He must take the ultimate responsibility, at least for shielding those officers. Secondly, given a chance to come and take the witness stand and explain himself, because the evidence we have shows irrefutable evidence of hemorrhaging of public funds, he has declined to take the witness stand. I invite you to conclude that the act of the governor to refuse to take the witness stand, when the time there showed that the governor still had slightly over 30 minutes of his defense, is an act of arrogance on his part, not warranting any mercy from you. If you take all these factors into consideration, my invitation would be, you can only do one thing, the right thing: impeachment of this governor. The County Assembly of Kericho has done its part. The Hansard of this house, as a historical record, will document that. Fortunately for me, the check is still open for you to sign. The history book is still open for you to record your position in that history. The Hansard is still recording you. It will record your vote. Distinguished senators, how will history document you individually and collectively regarding the side of history you belong to? The side that dignifies Geoffrey Bett, or the side that undignifies him? The side that protects taxpayers' money, or the side that does not? I am done with my part. The ball is in your court. I rest my case.
Counsel for the Governor, the floor is yours. And your 60 minutes start running from now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, my colleague, for the record, my name is Wajiko Diongo. I will commence the closing argument, then my two colleagues will come thereafter. Honorable senators, our point of departure is the sequence of events as prescribed under Section 33 of the County Governments Act. And definitely, as we sit here, it's not in dispute that the County Assembly has the jurisdiction, the first jurisdiction or the first instance in moving a motion for the impeachment of the governor. However, Mr. Speaker, in doing so, they must do so within the confines of the law and the edicts of the Constitution. They must adhere, in the very least, to Article 10, the principles and values of governance, and must do so within the provisions of Article 181. Therefore, before this House can admit this motion, it must then be satisfied, as we raised in our preliminary objection, that the threshold of the 2/3 majority of the Assembly was met. But in determining this question, serious issues have been raised on what transpired in the Assembly on that day, Mr. Speaker. Several clips, videos have been played in this House on what transpired. And what can be seen is that from those videos and the picture which has been painted is that for the first time, the Kericho County Assembly introduced electronic voting system. The MCAs had never been trained about this system. It has not been controverted by our colleagues from the side of the Assembly. It's also in addition that it is on the floor of that motion that the Speaker of the Assembly informed the MCAs that now the electronic voting system had been deployed. From the ICT officer of the Assembly, Mr. Alfred Kimtai, Mr. Speaker, when that question was put to him, he admitted that the system was deployed 2 days before. The MCAs had not been given an opportunity to interact with the system, create their own passwords, so that the vote which they are going to cast is going to be linked to a particular MCA. This goes to the verifiability of that particular vote. It is not about the numbers at this point. It's about the process within which that election was undertaken. Because an election is not just an event, it's a process, Mr. Speaker. It can also be seen from those clips which have been played in this House that there was a division in the Assembly. And when there is a division, the standing order requires that a roll call vote is taken on that issue. The issue was raised by one Gabriela, who has been called as a witness before this House, and was supported by 17 others, making a total of 18. And it is at that point, the standing order number 79, honorable senators, that required the Speaker to direct a roll call vote to be undertaken on that issue, Mr. Speaker. However, the Speaker of the Assembly instead went on to declare that the voting was going to proceed electronically. It is not clear why at this point, for a matter of this magnitude, because as we sit here, the decision that is going to be undertaken, that was undertaken by the Assembly, is going to take away the political right of the governor, because he was declared as the duly elected governor. But on the same breath, it's going to take away the decision and the will of the people of Kericho County. So that a matter of this magnitude, it has not been explained by the Assembly why was the rush to use the system, which was being piloted for the first time, to vote on this motion, Mr. Speaker. And looking at that system and the various questions which have been raised by the honorable senators, it's clear that the system had serious doubts. There were serious issues of manipulation, and the 3 ICT experts, as they came here, they could not clarify or clear the doubts which were raised by the senators. There was issues which were raised about the geographical location of the particular votes. And as we stand here, every vote could not have been linked to the geographical location. And the answer is one. the configuration or the manner in which the system has been set does not secure the votes. Mr. Speaker, it is also admitted, it's not disputed, that on the material day, I have heard the counsel for the governor indicate that the username is like the email address, and the password was unique, but in this case it was an ID number. How many times do we sign with our ID numbers when called upon? It is clear from the list of even the laptops that was applied to them that they had to write their own ID numbers. As they sign various registers, Mr. Speaker, they had to indicate the ID numbers. So what is unique about the ID numbers when we talk about a password? And it is clear from the 3 ICT experts that the two-factor authentication or the multi-factor authentication was not created for this system, so that every particular vote can be linked to the MCA. Also at the same time, from the Hansard at page 195 of the governor's Bardo, the Speaker himself of the Assembly publicly announced that the ID number is the password. So it was no longer a secret of what the password was, Mr. Speaker. And at the same time, issues arose about whether the MCAs had brought the tools of trade, particularly the gadgets which were required to conduct business. But as it has been shown, is for the first time they were going to use electronic voting. No prior notice had been given to the MCAs, and that was declared on the floor. So that when the MCAs have given evidence that they did not have their phones, they cannot then be faulted, because in the normal conducting of their business back in the Assembly, it is for the first time that they were required to use their phones. Mr. Speaker, it has also been shown also about the user name, which is not disputed, that the first link had all the usernames. And every MCA had access to the link and could then access the username or the IPPD address for the MCAs. And with that, Mr. Speaker, the case for the Assembly is that 3 voted. But the question the House should ask is the verifiability of these 33 votes. Can you link the vote of each and every which was casted or which is said to have been casted to the particular MCA? It has also been admitted that the MAC address in this witness for the devices they have equally not called her to come not be submitted to this House by either of the ICT officers. And with that, even as we narrow down, on the governor's side is that 18 MCAs did not vote. And narrowing it down is that there are 4 disputed votes in this case. That's the vote of Martin Kiprangat, who testified yesterday. We have the vote of Kibet Mosuben. We have the vote of Amos Biril and Edna Chepkirui. And just to attempt to address the issue of Edna, she has 2 conflicting affidavits. And as the Assembly is faulting the governor's side for not calling this witness, they have equally not called her to come and produce this affidavit. And as such, we are left at a point whether indeed she did sign that affidavit with the Assembly. But also we have the clip of Kibet Mosuben, which was played up from the system without this doubt being created, who was the ICT officer from the Assembly. And the best defense the motion mover would give was that that's not my voice, and I do not certificate but he has system. Not given. He also admitted there was no evidence personalized password. He has not given his call-outs to say on this particular date, I did not call Honorable Kibet. What's the idea? He has not controverted that clip apart from just denying, which is so easy to say. That's not my voice. Then the Honorable Senator should ask how secure was the system, and how verifiable is the vote which was cast. From the system, without this doubt being affidavit of the ICT about the verification of the votes and the security of that system. And it's not even in any way comforting. But if that doubt then is there, and the verifiability of the vote cannot be proven, the integrity of the system cannot be proven, it cannot then be said the two-thirds threshold was met. And it is thus our submission, Mr. Speaker, that the jurisdiction of this House has then been prematurely been invoked in this case. And the charges and the motion by the Assembly should not be admitted. Thank you.
Raised in these proceedings.
From there.
And simultaneously, when addressing that question, I'll be principally making submissions on our preliminary objection. The question of threshold.
Mr. Speaker,
And the most important thing is whether we have information before this House
from where my colleague
has left on whether 33 MCAs actually voted of necessity
on the question
provide the basis for this House to make a decision. ICT issues raised in these proceedings. And simultaneously, when addressing that question, I'll be principally making submissions on our preliminary objection. The question of threshold, and the most important thing is whether we have information before this House on whether 33 MCAs actually voted of necessity, provide the basis for this House to make a decision. Allow me to first of all say that as lawyers, we are not experts in IT. Throughout these proceedings, myself, it's been a learning experience, and up to now, I can say without contradicting myself that I know where the problem is, and I know then in terms of the decision on what went wrong, the vulnerabilities of the system, the missing gaps, the information which is required for purposes of making submissions before this Senate. And it is important to just highlight as a way of reaction to what the learned Ongoya said with respect to lawyers providing evidence. That is not true. This is a house of record. It's a house of evidence. What happened, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, what happened is that the County Assembly created what we call a demo website. A demo website 2 days ago. And that demo website, for us who are participating in this impeachment process, based on the information which was available by the County Assembly in Volume 4A, and that is where I'm going to focus my submissions on. Based on the information available, publicly available, and that's one of the issues which we have demonstrated here as a major vulnerability of this process on the aspect of verifiability, accuracy, and authenticity of the system, confidentiality and data protection, which has a heavy constitutional implication. So one of the, if you look at page 1 of volume 1, volume 4A, if you look at page 1 of volume 4A, there is information which I accessed and which was accessible to anyone at the County Assembly and all the MCAs at that time. The information is the IPPD numbers of the MCAs. That was the username which was supposed to be used to access this site, and that has been confirmed by the testimony of all the expert witnesses here. And the three of them, from the County Assembly, County Executive, and Office of the Governor, and the expert witness from the Senate. Then this system, how do you access it? You access it using an ID number. Again, from the ICT policy and the best practices in software development, we have been told that it is not a proper security safeguard to access such a system with an ID number. So what happened is that the county assembly 2 days ago created a demo website. So with this information that is easily available, it was then possible for anyone to key in and access that system. So it begs then the question, because the ID numbers are contained in volume 4A, that is page 1. The IPPD numbers are in page 4. And it begs a fundamental question which it keeps on recurring in this House, even from the questions which have been asked by the senators and the responses which were given by the ICT expert from government, from the ICT authority. This information, we request the Senate to take judicial notice of the information contained in an IPPD number. Who else can access that information within a county government setup? Payroll staff in the county government, county assembly can definitely access the payroll number for the MCS. The persons who created this system, the IT administrator, and the evidence has been laid here, clear, express, and unequivocal, that a link was sent to the administrator of this system. So you also had access to this system. The other persons who had access to this system are any person then who had mischief. Any person who had mischief will then access this system because it's easily available. So that concern, we are saying, is an important aspect which you need to consider when making your decision on this matter. The substance, which is a requirement of the question that is before the Senate for determination county government is whether 33 MCS meet actually voted of this matter. The substance. Secondly, whether the 33 MCS matter met the constitutional threshold before the Senate for determination. Whether the 3 MCS who claim that the 3 MCS they were not actually voted. They did not vote, but whether they voted for them, whether that evidence is credible, and if that is whether it is accepted by the MCS who claim that they were not, they did not vote, but someone voted for them, whether that evidence is credible, and if that is accepted by the Senate, then it affects the threshold. It affects the threshold. It means then there is no proper motion before the House. And on that basis, based on the legal doctrine that the law matters, that county assembly as a house is also governed by the law. We can do what we want, yes, but we must follow the law. We are all servants of the law. It is the law that drives everything that we do, including proceedings that are conducted at the county assembly. So that in this case, the Senate has a duty and an obligation to verify the authenticity of the 3 votes, because they will bring down the threshold, and then it means, and based on the ruling which was issued by the Speaker yesterday, that when voting on that question, if you believe that the 3 MCS, including Honorable Trump, did not vote, and remember, these MCS have come to the House. They have come here and told you by their word of mouth that I, Honorable so-and-so, I did not vote on this motion. And there are 3 of them. And their testimony is consistent with what transpired in the House. The question that you'll be left with is, do you believe these MCS who said that they did not vote so that you can make a decision on the threshold? Or do you believe a computer-generated information which has so many doubts to the extent that the entire House is asking questions? The question which this House is asking, and which all the senators have observed are asking, is really fundamental. We cannot put this down there. We are not downplaying the allegations against the governor. We have responded to them. But what we are saying is that, did these 3 MCAs vote? What does the evidence tell us? Let's look at the evidence. Where is the evidence? If you look at, Mr. Speaker, the evidence is contained in volume 4A. Evidence has been laid here by experts, all of them, that when you vote when you vote using a gadget such as a computer, which is internet-enabled, when you vote using a laptop or a tablet or a desktop, there are unique codes that identifies that gadget in the system. This code is known as the MAC address. When you sign into the Wi-Fi, using that gadget, it will leave a digital fingerprint, a digital print, digital evidence on that system for purposes of anyone who then audits that system, checking and ascertaining that MCA A, B, C voted in that system. So that is a fundamental question that we must always ask ourselves when we are determining that preliminary, voting on the preliminary objection. Is there information before this House? Mr. Speaker, sir, when I asked the government ICT expert a question, deliberate question, it is because of that. Because yesterday we were with this ICT officer. We were raising concerns about various things. One, whether the ICT officer from the ICT authorities can be able to comprehensively answer all the questions with the information which they have. We asked the question which was asked by a senator here, whether they can be able to hack into the, do a soft hack. It's called a soft intrusion, whether they can be able to hack into the system to verify the identity of the MAC addresses, to get those logs. We asked that question, and then the ICT officer walked out for 2 hours, and then came back. So we were appreciably apprehensive. What did this ICT officer go out to do for 2 hours, from between 2:30 p.m. and 4:30? After the speaker had issued directions that we need to be there and ensure that this audit is done and it's a time-bound activity, why would he do that? So we were appreciably apprehensive. When the ICT officer came back, and if you look at the report which he has submitted, he did not want to explain. His approach was that yes or no. The speaker has said, is it verifiable or not? Then he said, I will respond to the question the way I want, yes or no. That's what happened. That's what happened, yes or no. That's why if you look at the report of the ICT officer, and if you look at the report, it does not contain the information which we asked him to put on the report, which this Senate has been raising this afternoon. That evidence of the MAC addresses. We told him, and he has confirmed here, we told him, why can't you simply say in your report that for you to verify that MCA A, B, C, and D voted, you need their MAC addresses of the gadgets which they used, and these MAC addresses are in the system. And then he told us orally that this MAC addresses, yes, you need them, but I will not put them in the report. Mr. Speaker, sir, that is the context in which the governor side said, then we cannot sign this report. Even though they participated in the report generation, they were there when the logs were being extracted, the logs which are in the report. Those logs, same logs are in the county assembly document, and these logs will tell you only one side of the story. They will tell you only one side of the coin. Only one side of the coin. And it does not answer the question which is before the Senate. Which is this side of the coin? That 33 MCAs voted. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me say here, as part of our submissions, in a very, very clear and succinct manner. Indeed, we have looked at the evidence submitted by the county assembly, the data generated from the system, by the county assembly, and as extracted by this, by the expert speaker, the expert witness, and the expert witness also of the governor. And there is information that 33 MCS actually voted for this motion. There is information that 33 MCS voted for this motion. It is there. It's there in page 4A. But the fundamental question, because the governor's team is saying, so and so did not vote for this motion. And there are 3 of them. So the question then that begs the answer, which all the experts have not answered to now, which leaves doubt in the minds of everyone, including myself as a lawyer. Where can you, with certainty, tell us that this MCA, that MCA for this particular ward used this gadget to vote? Because then that will weed out. It will weed out and completely foreclose, Mr. Speaker, sir, the statement, the oral evidence which has been made by these MCAs. Because these three MCAs are saying, I did not vote. I, Honorable so-and-so, I did not vote for this motion. I did not vote. Mr. Speaker, sir, that statement is extremely weighty for purposes of the proceedings in this House. Therefore, we ought to have gotten from the system logs of all the MAC addresses of the gadgets which access this system from the county assembly. ICT officer from the government doubt say that that evidence ought to be in the system. Clear we to consistently asked him this question deliberately. Mr. Speaker, sir, additionally, that question to be yesterday there was evidence which was fully answered that some MCAs could not vote using their gadgets. The honorable senators, as you retire to consider this their telephone numbers. Just know that there is now doubt. More than happens is that the clerk experts have come to the Senate and there is doubt to be assisted to vote all of them on the existence of this MAC when it was a computer. Instead, that evidence will be there to be analyzed. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is really interesting. Addresses instead that system. The ICT officer from the government says that that evidence ought to be in the system. We consistently asked him this question deliberately because we want that question to be fully answered. Where are these MAC addresses? So, honorable senators, as you retire to consider this, the question of threshold, just know that there is now doubt more than ever. Experts have come to the Senate and there is doubt from all of them on the existence of these MAC addresses. Instead, Mr. Speaker, sir, and Mr. Speaker, sir, this is really interesting. Instead, they say, especially the expert from government says, that what we have as evidence are the IP addresses. The experts who, including himself, say that for it to be complete, you need to have both the MAC addresses and the IP addresses. The IP addresses is, what did he say, Mr. Speaker, sir, when he was testifying here? He said that the IP addresses are the gateways, the gateway IP addresses. They cannot tell, it tells you who accessed a particular Wi-Fi, which was being used by the MCAs in that area. It does not tell you the MAC addresses of the specific telephones that were used. So that is very, very significant. So to complete that argument and to leave no doubt whatsoever, if you look at volume 4A, and here, Mr. Speaker, allow me to just address a couple of issues on volume 4A. That is at page, the IP addresses which were produced. And the experts say that this is not conclusive. You will need additional information. At page 29, 31, 32, 33, of volume 4A. The Honorable Senator Asige, I don't know whether she's here, probably listening to where she is, asked an extremely important question, Mr. Speaker, sir, which affects the aspect of verifiability. Verifiability. Even on these IP addresses, we have left the issue of the MAC address, of the MAC addresses. Let's look at these IP addresses. I listened to the Honorable Senator Asige asking that question, and I said, maybe that is the real issue that the Senate also needs to inquire about. What was the issue? How many Wi-Fi? They say that if you have a gadget and you access the system, you will use a Wi-Fi. That's what they said, Mr. Speaker, sir. Is that right? Yes. They say that then 9 MCAs can have the same IP addresses because they access the same Wi-Fi. Again, that's what they said. I'm not picking this from there. Statements from the word of mouth. So the question is, if you look at these 33 IP addresses at page 29, page 32, page 29, 30, 31, 32. Mr. Speaker, sir, look at these IP addresses. Are these IP addresses the same? Mr. Speaker, sir, there are some which are the same. And this was pointed out. There's an IP address which features really prominently. It appears 9 times. This is 41, 139, 237.129. This IP address appears 9 times. 9 times. The ICT experts who appeared here say that it's also possible to do a geographical search of these IP addresses. But there is no evidence in the Senate that a geographical search of these IP addresses was done on the aspect of verifiability. But this IP address appears 9 times. So what does it mean? That somebody accessed, they accessed a particular Wi-Fi 9 times. But Mr. Speaker, sir, if you look at these logs, you will see that there are many other IP addresses. So the question is, why are these IP addresses different if you are all within the county assembly premises, the house? You are accessing the same Wi-Fi network. And they say that if you access the same Wi-Fi network, then you need to have the same IP address. So the question is, why are these IP addresses different, Mr. Speaker, sir? Is it possible that the Kericho County Assembly has 6 Wi-Fi routers? Because when I counted, I saw. And Mr. Speaker, you can count for yourself the different IP addresses that appear in this document. And that was the query which was raised by the distinguished Honorable Asige. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we submit that we have a very big problem before this House. The problem is that there is no certainty whatsoever based on the testimony of the 3 expert witnesses on who voted, on who actually voted. Their votes are there, but who actually voted? Instead, Mr. Speaker, sir, the possibility is that somebody may have accessed this publicly available data and voted for anyone else. And that is the information which, that is the evidence that is before the House. And because of time, Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to then conclude by saying that based on the provisions of Article 10.2 of the Constitution, the system which was deployed by the County Assembly on this vote, Mr. Speaker, sir, on an important matter concerning the removal of a governor from office. That system is not transparent, it is not verifiable, and therefore the results from that system are not verifiable. And on that basis, Mr. Speaker, sir, I urge I urge the honorable senators, Mr. Speaker, sir, that you allow our preliminary objection and throw this issue back for the where it came from, because it does not meet the constitutional threshold as required by Section 33(2) of the County Government Act. I yield the floor to my colleague.
For the record, my name is Katwa Kigen, Counsel for the Governor. And the nature of my submissions will be more towards the aspects of fact. And Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, we hold the position that the Governor has responded to the factual allegations of the claims made by the County Assembly, and that is captured in his affidavit, volume 1, the affidavit in volume 1, page 1 to 31. And the allegations that had been raised by the County Assembly are 9, and all of them have been answered. It relates to management of a program called NAV-CDP, FLOCA, Kasim Tani, Strategic intervention projects, Londiani accident, dismissals, subversion of county assembly activities, and bullying. All those issues we've answered, and we pray that the senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, they be looked at as answer to the allegations. Now, in more particular, I would like to say this. The allegations are in two categories. The first category is old complaints that were brought here before you in September 2024. And the second set are new claims raised by a report made on 5th of August 2025, and attendant to which an impeachment motion was initiated on 6th of August 2025. In respect to the old complaints, which is constituted of these particular three items, the first one is the issue of Kasim Tani. The second one is the issue of Londiani accident. The third one is the issue of private land. Our first attack on that, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the standing orders of Kericho County prohibited and prohibits the need to consider those allegations. The standing order number 70A subsection 2 is to this effect. Despite paragraph 1, probably I should read from paragraph 1 for context, 70A says this: a motion by any member for the removal of a county governor by impeachment may be reintroduced in the county assembly on the expiry of 90 days from the date of a vote by the Senate. Subsection 2 is to this effect. Despite paragraph 1, a motion for removal of a county governor by impeachment may be reintroduced in the county assembly on other grounds other than the initial grounds that were highlighted in the previous impeachment proceedings. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, I put a lot of premium and emphasis on the use of the word grounds that were highlighted in the previous impeachment. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our contention, contrary to what Honorable Rogoñ said when he was testifying, that to the extent to which those grounds were captured in the motion, were moved in the county assembly, were debated in the county assembly, were voted for, and were brought here. To the extent that those things happened, they had fitted into that word of highlighting. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators,